With a unanimous vote of 7-0, the Fayetteville School Board elected Dr. John L. Colbert for the job.
He took us through graduation, through all of the end of the year craziness and activities, and he did a fantastic job.
Dr. Colbert is no stranger to Fayetteville. He's worked for the district for 39 years, serving as a teacher, principal, and the associate superintendent before his newest promotion.
It has a special place in my heart because, that's where I began my education. Fayetteville Public School believed in me and trusted in me. And so it is very special.
In the early 1950s, Arkansas, like America, was going through significant changes. Less than a century after the Civil War and a decade after World War II, America was still in its infancy as an integrated nation. An essential part of that integration was education, which was finally addressed with Brown versus Board of Education in 1954.
The Brown versus Board decision in 1954 came after some headway had been made in higher ed professional education. Some of this had occurred in Arkansas already, and so many people were kind of ready to pounce in terms of supporting the Supreme Court decision and its implementation. There are a lot of folks who are ready to get in there and prevent implementation of the Supreme Court decision. The history of Brown's implementation in Arkansas is especially interesting because Fayetteville High School was the first high school in the former Confederacy to integrate. School board was spending more money per Black student than per white student busing those high school students somewhere else. As soon as the decision came down, they were ready. Let's integrate. We're bleeding money on keeping segregation going.
Black educators in that time were having various experiences. Even though Brown v. Board of Education, Topeka, Kansas, did rule that we should desegregate and that there was a Brown 2, that it should desegregate with all due and deliberate speed, right? And root out segregation from root and branch, right? That this did not happen. So we know that, especially here in Arkansas, that white supremacists embedded in the government, in schools, in the community, were willing to put forward a massive resistance campaign. So Black educators in particular were experiencing not only pushback from that massive resistance, they were losing their jobs. What the Black Power movement and the example of the Black Panther Party, the ideas of self-reliance, the ideas of doing for self, it instilled those values in those days. Maybe we have to create alternative institution. We know that we cannot just be in these kinds of spaces as bystanders, that we have to be in there and be educating, especially Black and Brown children, about the society around them and instilling that kind of a confidence in terms of teaching them their history and where they come from to give them that kind of a push to get them ahead.
A few short months after the Brown versus Board of Education decision was made, a child was born in a small town of Rondo that was destined to impact education in Arkansas. No one would have guessed that a pioneer of education would get his start in the Delta region of the state. This small town community would instill the foundational values that would shape John L's life.
Oh, Rondo, Arkansas. It was a nice little small town where everyone knew each other. It's almost like it takes a village to raise a family. And so therefore everyone was part of the family. You could always count on your neighbors to help out and reciprocated the same thing. Mom and Dad, they really had a big heart, always giving to others. even though they had 10 kids of their own. And so I was number 6. And that was kind of neat to be in the middle of the entire family, because I got the chance to be the youngest with the older kids, and then I became the head honcho with the younger kids.
He was some kind of lazy when it came down to working in the field. He would tell us in a minute, I'm supposed to be in the house, I'm supposed to be doing this. But you know something? He did the babysitting. My younger sister, Shirley, and Melvin, one of the younger boys, and then there was Will. He did the babysitting while we were in the field. Would you believe he was trying to teach them then? You know, he was only a child himself.
I did do a lot of reading, and I give that credit to my mom. Parents, they always see something in you, and I guess she saw that I loved learning, and I wanted to advance my knowledge, and so she made sure that I had the opportunity to read a lot of books. She just, had that feeling that, hey, I could do a lot in making a difference in the lives of others through education. Dad was the hard-working man who believed in making sure that his kids had all the things that they needed, and also the community as well. No one in that area did not know L Colbert. To be a kid, to look up to your dad and say, wow, this man is making a difference not only for his kids and his family and his wife, but other people in the community as well, always giving back. My dream to become an educator actually started when I was a high school student. I was the student council vice president, and we always wanted to do some type of project there at school. And I chose to do a tutorial program to help my fellow students who were having academic problems. And so that really became a great program, and it was something that it was made for me, and it looked like I had found my niche and helping others. And then from there, the superintendent, he had called me to his office and asked me to do him a favor. He says, I want you to be a bus driver. You are a model student. The other students respect you. They look up to you, and you're always doing the right thing. And I think you would be a great bus driver. And I said, of course, Miss Dahlberry, I'll do that. And so I did. And I was a 17-year-old kid driving a school bus. And so from those two things, it really validated my passion of what I wanted to do later on in life, that I wanted to become an educator. Just that drive and then that encouragement, and the fact that those teachers believed in us, and they were always there for us. So therefore, it made a difference. And so therefore, that competition was good, man. And it was even better once I found that I was selected as the valedictorian of the class. So it was neat. It was 1973. Graduated from Barton High School, home of the Bears, Not only were my parents happy, but it was the community, and especially my church, Mount Pierin Baptist Church. And that was in LaGrange, Arkansas. They also encouraged me, they pushed me, and they always was trying to tell me what I should be doing in life, and always gave me opportunities, especially in church, to serve as the superintendent, as a teacher, as a speaker, as a program director. So it started there. After graduating in May, of course, in June the 10th, I won't forget that day, I came here because of Mr. Duffy. He was an African-American recruiter for the university. So he came and talked to me about this place up here in Fayetteville that you would do well, and it's made for you. It's a well-hidden secret, and you should come to Fayetteville, Arkansas. And so he sold me. So he talked to mom and dad, and he sold that same thing to them. And so we trusted him, because, hey, here this man who looks like me, and he wouldn't, lead me down the wrong road. So, and I felt real comfortable knowing that he was here.
Uprooting from his hometown and taking the leap of faith to Fayetteville was possible for John L., thanks to his family, his church, and his community.
Coming into a new environment, I was kind of nervous, but because of the fact that I had the support of my family back home, I know that mom and dad would always be there. I really felt at ease because of the fact that I knew that I had a support in place with the fellow students as well as the graduate students like Mr. Duffy. And so that really helped me out and made me feel comfortable. And then because the church, that was my other support. And because the church was there, you know, I believed in God. And I say, because I always say, hey, through him, I can do all things. And they really helped me in that sense. And then we had the community, like Wilt's family. So therefore, you know, I was at home. I had that support.
I utterly believe that what really kept him focused and kept him grounded because of his faith. We utterly believe it deep down in our souls, every fiber of our being, that Christ is a lot of people say the head of my life. He is our life. And he believed with the help of the Almighty, he would accomplish it. And he did, you know what I'm saying? And that's one thing we were taught at an early age.
Any typical African-American family, you know, they all believe in God. And so, of course, the first thing that your parents are going to tell you, you need to find a church there in Fayetteville. Of course, what did I do? I found myself a church 50 years ago at the St. James Missionary Baptist Church.
Special program to close. I want you to know that a father doesn't push, he leads.
Our church has played an integral role when it comes to our students. When our students were first admitted to the University of Arkansas, they may have been admitted to school, but they were not allowed to stay in the dorms, go to the cafeteria, things of that nature. And so what happened, our church and its members opened up its homes to those students, and we became their room and board. And so as a result of that, we fed them, we've housed them, we loved them, we've nurtured them, we undergirded them, supported them, whatever we needed to do, because our goal was to make them be successful here at the university, because they were, you know, breaking barriers.
With a community around him and a bright future ahead, John L. would find his brotherhood and his life partner at the University of Arkansas.
My college days went by fast because I went to summer school every year, so therefore I graduated in 3 years, and my major was in special education / elementary ed. And so I just enjoyed going through the education department there. Mr. Sam Yalowitz and Miss Thomas, they were my special ed professors who really took us under their wings and really taught us and gave us some good skills to use in our classroom. How did I know that Cheryl Jumper was the one? I had two buddies that we would always make sure that we would go down to Pomfret Hall. That's where the orientation would take place, to scope out the new ladies coming in town. And so I remember very distinctly that I met her and then saw her that first time. And so I did say, to my two buddies, I don't think we need to mess with this one. You know, she's not going to give us a time of the day. And then lo and behold, after school started that fall, my two buddies and I, we ate in Brough Commons. And so we went there, and then this lady and two other ladies were together. We said, oh, look at this. There's three of them. There's three of us. Why don't we just go and introduce ourselves and join them at their table? And so I ended up sitting next to whom? The person that I said, oh, she's not going to give us the time of the day. I didn't realize that she was the same person until after we got into the conversation and all that stuff. And I think she was the one who brought it up. She says, you don't remember me, do you? She says, yes, remember you three would come down to Pomfret during orientation. And I said, oh, I do remember you. And from that, we got into this discussion about the way that she carried herself and all that stuff, and she felt that was important. That conversation led from one thing to the next. And so I decided to say, hey, why don't you let me walk you to your dorm? And so I did. And we had a great time walking across campus, and we got to know each other a little better. And so that led from one thing to the next, led us to marrying in the spring of 1975.
Cheryl, beautiful soul. I think she contributed a great deal to him also. I mean, you know, you heard some people say, where there's a great man, there's a greater woman, you know what I'm saying? And she really, really contributed a great deal to him.
Now, when you all look at this video, please realize that we are on vacation. Jonelle's hair, she's just letting it hang down.
To say I had the type of parents who expected excellence is an understatement. I was always raised to believe there was nothing I couldn't do. You don't have to be excellent in everything, but you had to be able to do anything. My mom was a big proponent of that. So she was big on teaching us languages. She was big on exposing us to different cultures. She was really big on learning the basics of anything because she wanted us to be able to hold a conversation in any type of arena that we may find ourselves in. She wanted us to be heard and to be seen, especially growing up as a little Black girl in the 80s in Arkansas. She wanted to make sure that I had every advantage I could available to me.
Cheryl was so great in supporting everything that I did. Very strong in her husband, with her kids. That was the most important thing to her family. But at the same time, she supported that family in everything I did and gave me some good pointers. Even when I was a teacher, she used to make all these great things. I say, honey, I like to have that for my classroom too, because he was a teacher as well. And so she would, of course, make duplicate of whatever she made and share it with me. And I put them in my classroom, proud to say, oh, yeah, look at my classroom. It came from Cheryl.
Just as he was led to his future wife, he was also led to a fraternity that would galvanize his resolve and his future.
I followed me in 1975. I pledged Alpha Phi Alpha, and that's where it began, that brotherhood, that caring, that leadership. And those grad brothers who brought us over, you know, they were such great role models, you know. They encouraged us and they taught us. And it's kind of interesting, before I pledged Alpha Phi Alpha, these same people, young men, they were leaders on campus. They were always there, always encouraging all of the African-American students. Because remember, we had to be united at that time because, you know, things was different back in 1975 and 73 and 75 when we first got there. So we had to form that community. And that community for me was the fraternity. And so after I graduated from the university, I had narrowed my decision down. I said, should I go to Dallas or should I stay here in Fayetteville? And I think I made the best decision in my life, besides marrying my sweetheart from the University of Arkansas, is that I stayed and became a teacher here in Fayetteville and started at Bates Elementary as the special education teacher. And I love being at Bates. I love being a teacher there in the special ed classroom, and all. So it really made me feel great that I was making a difference. And not only did I feel good, and I think I made a difference in the lives of my fellow teachers who also taught 5th and 6th grade, who invited me to be part of their team. And then after that, a lady by the name of Pat Jackson decided to come and do an internship under Mr. Hannon, the principal at that time. And so he had already started using me as the unofficial assistant principal without pay, that is. Anytime he wasn't in the building, I would step in and take care of things. And during that time, Miss Jackson noticed me, and we worked together and all, and saw how I worked with the kids, how I worked with the students as well as the parents. And so it was a great year, and I enjoyed working with her during her internship. And so, you know how God is so good. She finished her internship, and then she went to Fort Smith and got a job in HR. And of course, a principalship came open. And since she was in HR, she was over the hiring. And guess who she called? she called John L. Colbert and said, hey, Mr. Colbert, we have this opening here in Howard Elementary there in Fort Smith, and we would like to invite you up for an interview and all that stuff. And so I said, well, let me discuss it with my wife and all. And so I went back and said, honey, you need to make the decision because, it might not come around again, because there was an opening here in Fayetteville at that time. And so I said, okay, called her back and said, yes, I'd like to come for an interview, and I went for an interview. And then it was history. She offered me the job to be the principal at Howard Elementary there in Fort Smith.
He worked at Fort Smith. He was the principal there. And so I remember they were called Mimi and Papa, and that's who he left me with while he was driving back and forth before they did the interstate. And that was a long drive to go from Fayetteville to Fort Smith all the time.
That first year, I drove by myself over the old Highway 71 and did that for a year by myself. It was good. I enjoyed being at Howard, and I think I turned the school around and everybody appreciated what I was doing. So the next year, my wife, I talked, and she was a teacher at the Butterfield here in Fayetteville. So we said, hey, let's go ahead and see if you can get a job there, and then we may be thinking about moving. And so she did get a job. And so we put the house up for sale, but it didn't sell right away. I don't know, God had plans for us, but it didn't. But we decided to commute for 2 years, and we did that. And then after that third year, I got a call here in Fayetteville, said, hey, we have this opening at Jefferson, we'd like to interview you. And so I came and interviewed, and then became the principal at Jefferson Elementary.
Being there at Jefferson, I think, also gave him an opportunity to put his own spin on things. I'm pretty sure he's the one who started the school dances. I remember our sports teams, so back then we were doing co-ed sports. We were winning everything. Jefferson Jaguars were a presence and a force, but that was all because of him. Nothing happened without his tutelage, without his guidance.
That was a great 8 years there. I hated to leave Jefferson because I really thought I was making a big difference there with the students and parents, and then this opportunity came. So I had to wait. So, do I want to leave Jefferson, or should I go after that dream that every principal would like to do, is open a brand new school? And so I cried and left Jefferson, went and opened Holcomb Elementary. Again, that was another great decision that I made.
John L. found his calling and vocation in education, but his work in the community reached far beyond that.
For my dad, school is not work. That is his calling. So there is no education without John L. No John L. without education. So it's not work for him. It's about what he is born to do and what he brings to the community. So when that's who you are 24/7. I always got people asking me, so what is he like at home? What is he like at school? What is he like in the community? That's him. There's no difference with him. Who he is who you get. Our family meetings were doing Robert's rules because he's a parliamentarian. So, imagine me as a kid sitting like, we have an agenda for our meetings. That was our household. So he is who he is at all times. So there's no difference.
His name preceded him in our story because I am a member of Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and he was the district director for the state. So I just heard his name, Brother Colbert, all the time. He is a pioneer in so many different avenues. I don't know when he has time to sleep because he's involved in so much, just with the church we're here right now, or his work with the Special Olympics. I know he's a Mason, and his work with Alpha Phi Alpha, and not to mention he was running the whole school district. So, kudos to him for all that.
When I was a parent, and then later on I got on the city council, and John L. was instrumental in helping us change the name from the highway we call 6th Street to MLK Boulevard. And he came in with a group of folks, and we worked together on that. I was the lead sponsor on that as a council member. And that's when I really, really became acquainted with John L. and developed a partnership with him that would last a lifetime.
My family and I, we were looking for a church home. We ended up over at St. James in 1996. And John L. was one of the first people that we ran into at the church. And he noticed that we were new. He was one of the first people that came over to actually welcome us. And as my wife, and at the time we only had 2 children. Yeah, he just came over and started talking and welcomed us, and immediately we felt welcome. I believe we probably joined the church maybe 2 weeks later. What made it even more amazing is that became, the essence of the church, and other people started doing the same thing. His legacy around it is always investing in young people, whether it's in the school system, whether it's the dream team for the MLK committee. He's always been about them. And I believe that those are the things that catapulted him to being superintendent, is because there's a genuineness and authentic thing about him caring about our youth.
The first time I met John L. was the Sunday before my first class at the University of Arkansas in August of 1995, and I'd gone to St. James. They picked us up on a shuttle, and I think Brother Colbert approached all of the male college students, but I just remember how he spoke. It was a presence, and it was real, like, right there, just locked in. And I remember that vividly. And then I found out he was an educator.
He's always been striving to be successful and he didn't mind being first at all. He's been first in a whole lot of things. He's the very first person of color to be chairman of the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce. He's embraced our community and loves it with all of his heart, every fiber of it, and Northwest Arkansas and the great state of Arkansas, and the organizations that he participates in.
Dr. Colbert literally has his hands into everything. And from a personal stance, he has his hands in the Dream Keepers, in which my daughters benefit from. And he took those kids and took them, this past summer, he took them on a civil rights tour across 3 states just to give them some history of what they've been through as African Americans, and they absolutely loved it. Even now in the community, doing trash pickups, going into the nursing homes and making cards and visiting, he's made a huge impact. I know, especially in my kids.
Having surmounted the challenges life had to offer and climbing the ranks of Fayetteville Public Schools, including becoming the first African American associate superintendent for the district, John L. was about to face an unexpected challenge that would shake him to his core with Cheryl's unexpected illness.
She had cancer, and she was at home where she wanted to be. And so we were taking care of her, myself and my daughters and all. And so I had stepped out, and when I came back in, I noticed that she was gone. And that was a hard moment for me at that time, that my love of my life, my greatest supporter, my greatest encourager, she was gone. But as a Christian, we knew that she was in a better place because no more pain, The good thing that I'm so blessed that helped me through that transition, 1, I had my 2 daughters. 2, I had my job. I had my job. I had that family. And that family was real special to me. And they took care of me. And so it made it a little easier because I knew that my family at work, they were there to help me through all that. And then I had my daughters who helped me through it as well. So because of all that, and then I had church, I was in good hands.
One of the things I think is the blessing that we had in that is we were able to take care of my mother at home. So, my dad and I were on FMLA, we're splitting our time, trying to make sure that she's covered. We all got to be there. My sister was there. My husband would come in to help. her sisters and brothers actually got to come down and help support too. His sisters and brothers came down, and we all have visited. Everybody got to visit and spend some time. So no matter the pain of her loss, at least we had that time with her. So we got to be there with her, even her last breath. So that was very important for us. But even now, you feel that loss. She literally was the center of her family.
Did I miss her? Man, yes, I did. Do I miss her now? Yes, I do. It's kind of hard. But, 42 years, that's pretty good.
In the shadow of loss, hope blossomed anew as the journey of healing led to the proud moment of Colbert obtaining his doctorate degree, symbolizing resilience and inspiration for his community.
I just always wanted to be a doctor. I always wanted people to be able to call me Dr. John L. Colbert. And it's just something that was on my bucket list that I wanted to do. And so at the age of, I think it's 60, I finished and got my doctorate in education, leadership education. And that's another testament for me to use to other people that it doesn't matter how old you are, whatever, just follow your dream.
To see my mentor walk across the stage and receive a doctoral degree, mind-blowing. Because I think in a lot of ways, he was always re-emphasizing the importance of scholarship. That wasn't a secret with Dr. Colbert. You knew he wanted you to go to college, and you knew that he expected excellence from you.
He is a forever learner. So going back to school and getting his doctorate became about the journey and not the requirement. To be at that age, to still be learning, to hold down a job, to hold down the 50,011 organizations he's in, and to finish his doctorate, and to be a dad, and at some point became a GPAW in there, that's a lot. So when, again, I come back to limits. When people say you can't, that's a curse word in our family. What do you mean can't? There's nothing you can't do if you don't choose to do it. That's a different thing. And so for him, again, it became the journey. He's now becoming Dr. Colbert.
After more than 3 decades within the district, rising from teacher to associate superintendent, John L. Colbert will be the first African-American to lead Fayetteville Public School.
I remember very well a phone conversation I had with John L. I called him to ask him, are you willing to serve as interim superintendent? And that's a phone call I'll never forget. We talked about 30 to 45 minutes. And I remember being relieved after I hung up that phone call that we had John L. Colbert in our district, because I don't think there's another person in the country who could have stepped in at that point in time in our district and really kept things together.
You ever had a feeling that what was meant to be is going to be? Have you ever heard that or been in that kind of predicament? But it was still exciting, because we're still living in some time that we are still got some ways to go, harmony with everybody, you know what I'm saying? And I say, well, he has accomplished, he has worked hard, and it is deserving. If anyone were to be, it would be him, you know what I'm saying?
I was ecstatic for multiple reasons. Number one, just truly believe that he deserved it. Probably should have been there before. But secondly, the fact that he, again, is making history as the first African-American superintendent in the Fayetteville School District. And those things are very meaningful to our church, to our community, to people that look like me. I was just so ecstatic and happy to see him get to the pinnacle of what it is that he is doing in educating kids. And now he gets to direct the whole program. And so super excited. And it has truly made our community better.
John L. had incredible amount of support and recognition within the district. People trusted him, people knew him, teachers knew him, parents knew him, staff members. And he was really able to kind of step in at a difficult time.
As a superintendent, if you look at from the impact to the teachers, if you look at their interactions at the beginning of the year that they do, and there's this, I call it infamous picture of him standing there in front of everybody saying, "This is my district." That's literally what he meant. I don't know any administrator, past, present, and I doubt future, that I'm seeing going to every single school at the beginning of the school year, shaking hands, meeting everybody. At the end of the school year, sending people off. You see him just everywhere doing anything that is about those students. And it didn't matter where it was, he was there.
It was a transitional thing because of the fact that, I was the interim superintendent prior to me becoming superintendent. And I think that was a blessing in disguise because they saw that once I became the interim superintendent, it was a very smooth transition that we did not miss a beat. Nothing was lost or whatever because of the fact that I knew the district, I knew my fellow principals, I knew my fellow teachers, and I knew a lot of the parents and the students. So therefore, that transition was very smooth in the fact that I was familiar with everything. And so, I know that from that, the board president invited me to an interview with the board, and they interviewed me and all, and at the board meeting. And then after that, I went out, and then they did that little deliberation and came back and says, we'd like to offer you the superintendent of the Fayetteville Public School System. And I was like, that was a joy, that brought tears to my eyes too. And so it was a great moment in my life that I had a school board who believed in me and believed in my work, and also believed in what I had done for those 4 months as being the interim superintendent. And so therefore they felt confident that, hey, I could do a good job. And so they offered me that position. That was a nice moment. I mean, it was surreal at that point.
With his goals realized of earning his doctorate and becoming superintendent, Dr. Colbert would then have to navigate one of the greatest challenges of our lifetime.
This is truly an unprecedented situation. COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
The coronavirus has changed life as we know it across America.
In light of the news today and the experiences we are having together, I wanted to reach out to you. Please know that we will communicate on an ongoing basis. As news becomes available, we will update you. Today, Governor Hutchinson announced the closure of all Arkansas public schools through April the 17th.
I've often joked with John L. that he never got a break. He never got an easy year, and he didn't. He had some of the most significant challenges that we've ever faced in education all happen within a kind of a short period of time, and it took a special person like John L. to be able to navigate that. I'll never forget it.
He did a good job of trying to get as much information as he could from a variety of different sources. Dr. Colbert likes to make people happy. It is just part of his DNA. He wants to, he wants to see smiling faces, and he wants people satisfied with the work that he's doing. That was almost impossible during that time, because no matter what decision we made, we were making some people unhappy because people had a variety of different opinions about how that should go. He tried to hear from as many different parties as he could. He would pull his leaders together and spend hours, walking through different scenarios, the pros and cons of each. And then, he would make a decision and stand by it, and sort of take both the positive and the negative feedback.
During COVID, we were trying to create a way to reach out to school-age students, actually, and we wanted to use a message other than a 30-second PSA that you see on commercial television. And so we decided we wanted to do some of our own, and we needed to do something that made it fun and catchy that people would remember, because we were going to do it on social media. And so we wrote a little song and created a little dance called the COVID Shuffle. Now, most superintendents of schools, when you approach them, you say, listen, I need your help on something. I want you to do this little dance, and I want you to sing this little song. Wash your hands, wear your mask, keep your distance. And he can dance. I can't dance. I try to do it, and I don't dance, but he does it very. And he was, he's incredibly open to it because he saw it would be something that whether you're in a kindergarten grade, elementary, middle school, junior high, or high school, you're going to go, if my superintendent's engaging, this is important.
On May the 21st, 1954, the Board of Education of the Fayetteville Public Schools voted unanimously to integrate Fayetteville Public Schools without any incident. 69 years ago after the integration, that board member made history. So did you all to elect this African American to put his name upon this building.
The ribbon was cut today for the brand new middle school named after former Fayetteville Superintendent John L. Colbert, who retired at the end of the school year.
Is this for real? Is this happening to me? Is it really going to be the John L. Colbert Middle School? That's what went through my mind. I was just at awe and said, wow, this is a blessing and an honor that they have chosen to name this school in my honor. So it was a nice feeling, man.
I think that is one of the greatest things that the city of Fayetteville and the school district could have ever done, is to give him his flowers while he was living. He's been a trailblazer in our community for a very, very long time, and particularly in the education system, without a shadow of a doubt. First African-American principal, first African-American associate superintendent, first African-American superintendent. So he has trailblazed his way through the Fayetteville school system. And to get a school named after him, it is very befitting and very, very deserving.
It was kind of an allegory for what Dr. Colbert said to me for my entire life, which was, if a little boy from Rondo, Arkansas can be the superintendent of Fayetteville Public Schools, what can you do? And when I think about the kind of representation that it means, that someone will look up Dr. John L. Colbert Middle School and see a black man, or they'll look up the website and see a black principal, what is that going to do for the future generation of black boys just like me, who are going to then go into the workforce or go into college or go into their families facing giants in the same way I was, fearless just like I was, because they got to see in real time these real people that are tangible and they're in our community that look just like them.
Still just weird. So my daughter started kindergarten. My youngest started kindergarten this year. And so we're enrolling her in classes. You know, they have the whole list of schools. And I'm going through and I was like, oh, I forgot. He has a name. So, you know, I'm like Leverett, Holcomb, and then John L. Colbert Middle School. I said, of course, my father would make sure that he's the only one that has his full name listed on everything. He said, it's not JLC. It's not Colbert, it is John L. Colbert. And it's interesting and weird at the same time, but it's wonderful. I mean, you don't see a lot of African American named buildings. You just don't.
Definitely blessing and an honor to be the first principal of John L. Colbert Middle School. The district trusted me with that responsibility. It's definitely been an adventure. I've learned a lot from the construction part of it, seeing it built from ground up, and now living in the building for the first time students in there, first time adults in there. Everything we're doing is for the first time, so the challenge is there. There have been some obstacles, but it's an opportunity because I know I'm getting experience that will help me down the road throughout my career.
History has its interesting connections. The universe has a way of snapping us to attention with those alignments, right? Where these turning points, you can look at a date and see the overlap of these chapters of Arkansas and American history. So it's really interesting. Fayetteville's desegregation is so early in the story of school desegregation in Arkansas and across the South. And so to think about this leader coming into play, being born, and nobody knows, what his future is going to be, what the events at that moment are paving the way for him. It's pretty exciting. When he's a child, you've got a lot of Black teachers who are losing their jobs in the tumult of this, but people try to figure out, how do we integrate our schools? What happens to the teachers? And then he's going to come along and pioneer that educational leadership in Arkansas. It's pretty cool to think about.
The Fayetteville Public School District is saying goodbye to its leader. Dr. John L. Colbert is retiring after 47 years of service.
His greatest success, and it's an ongoing legacy, is creating a platform for the students who were not always heard from in the past, and incorporating their voices in our goals, our strategies, our objectives. People felt like they were seen in our school district who had not felt that way before. With Dr. Colbert at the helm, many families felt included for the first time, and I think they continue to feel that way.
I ran into someone the other day who was saying how Mr. Colbert, who he was to her then, was her principal, right? And so just the generations of people that he's impacted in the community, the ones who have went on to do more things outside of Northwest Arkansas. I think, just going back to, he was my teacher, he was my principal, he was my when I met him, he was my superintendent. So all these people have these things, and I haven't heard anyone have anything bad to say about him. So I think that's the legacy.
John L. had the heart of this city in mind as he did his work, as he worked with people. He's been a great friend, a great partner, a great activist for social justice. I think he's just a great guy, and when I always think of John L., I think about his compassion, his patience, his love for all people. And you know what? That stands the mark of time, doesn't it?
When you look at his eyes and you see the passion in which he speaks about the subject matter that he's speaking about, you can't help but being drawn into what he was saying. And then as a result of that, you want to support him and find out what you can do to help him in those spaces. And so I would say that those are some things that I would love for people to know deeper about John L. Colbert, is that he cares about everybody.
John L. Colbert is my North Star. He's my father. He is my brother. He is my mentor. He is my friend. He is my accountability partner. He's the blueprint.
If I learned anything from my mentor, it is to strive for that level of excellence in any pursuit, whatever that is. And I think in this context, you'll see a lot about public schools, and you'll see a lot about advocacy, and you'll see a lot of activism. but I think that it's transferable. So whatever aspect of your life you're considering, I think Dr. Colbert should serve as a lesson that you can and should be striving for excellence.
I would describe his legacy as the person who made sure everyone felt equal, included, special, loved. His thing was education for all. No matter what, education for all. You will have an equal education. And he really made that happen.
Now, since he won't be sort of like have to go to work as superintendent, now he can just spread his wings out and just be everywhere now and get involved in everything, and you know he is, you see what I'm saying? And so this, I think he really this might be his biggest thing now, is being out in the community and contributing and bringing in younger people, you see what I'm saying?
Retired dad doesn't know what retirement means. All it means is he is no longer the current superintendent, but every time I look up, he's at a school event, still seeing the people, he's still in the community, he's still doing everything. I think he travels now more than he was before. So, all it's done is allow him to, again, be there more for the people, as he's always done. Retirement just means he gets more time to do what he loves.
Keep your head up. Always believe in yourself. And always know that when you do the right thing, people will be there to help you to the next level. So don't ever think that there is not a support. There's a support. Your parents, your school, and your community. Believe in those. And if they say you can do it, believe me, you can do it. Keep your focus and keep your goals, and you can reach those goals. I'm a testimony to that.
From humble beginnings in Rondo, Arkansas, Dr. John L. Colbert proved many things. He proved that no matter the obstacles, your dreams can be fulfilled. He proved that love and service to the community is the foundation to success. He proved that you can create generations of change and a life of inspiration for those that follow. Most importantly, Dr. Colbert has proven with his life that given the opportunity, all students can learn.
I always tell people they should never forget that this great nation is based upon public education. That's the foundation. It allows every person, regardless who you are, what color, how much money you have, you can get an education. And I take pride in that fact that we in America provide that opportunity for every child to have an opportunity to go and get a quality education because of public education.